We have a special Throwback Thursday today with a special guest. This morning we're joined by, of course, Lori Kent with the Local podcast and Matt Gage, Executive Director for Mount Pleasant Glidden Memorial. And we're going to discuss the historical marker today.
Yeah.
So talk about kind of what brought you here this morning.
Well, I'm the Executive Director of Mount Pleasant Cemetery. I have been in the job for just about 3 years, and we are the oldest operating cemetery in the city. So we opened in 1873. Our earliest grave actually predates that because as Lou knows, one of the coolest history facts about our cemetery is that the old Fort Dakota Cemetery that sat south and west of the cathedral is part of Mount Pleasant now, and that the graves were moved there as the city expanded in the 1800s.
Interesting. Okay, so kind of for you, why was it important for you to highlight this week?
The Glidden Memorial Chapel is gorgeous. Like right behind the gates of Mount Pleasant Cemetery is this beautiful 22-foot by 42-foot Sioux quartzite building that's been there for almost 100 years. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. I mean, there's a really cool historical marker for Mount Pleasant Cemetery too, but I think the Glidden Memorial Chapel itself is just absolutely stunning, and we want it to be there for another 100 years. But like, what is the Glidden Memorial Chapel? And like, who are the Gliddens? Why do they have a chapel? It's pretty interesting. So in 1878, Daniel Glidden and his wife Josephine moved to Sioux Falls, and that makes them the beginning of Sioux Falls time. So they're movers and shakers in what's going on in the beginnings of Sioux Falls. They do tons of stuff for our community, and these effects are still felt today. And so they live here until the end of their lives. So Daniel dies in 1920 and Josephine dies in 1921, and they're called pioneers in their obituaries. And then we have in their life, they're doing all this stuff for the community, including like being a part of the beginning of our public library, which is obviously so important.
Wow.
And then in death, Josephine gives a bequest of $13,000 to Mount Pleasant Cemetery to build this chapel. But within a couple months, there's like these artist renderings of what it's going to look like in the newspaper, but it takes years. It takes a couple years for it to be built. The first body is held in the receiving vault the end of December of 1924.
Wow, and it is beautiful. I mean, talk about just how much went into this.
Architecturally, it's gorgeous. It has kind of a Gothic church feel to it. It just, you walk in there and you can sense a place of remembrance, a place that I think what the Gliddens really wanted was a place that people could hold funerals and pray about loved ones, and it has done a great job of serving the community on the east side of Sioux Falls with that intention for many, many years. It's been through a couple phases of remodeling, and we're approaching another one.
Okay, and if they want to learn more about this, how can they do so?
They can visit our website at mtpleasantsf.com. Right now we've put up a special page through January that is talking about that the chapel needs restoration. We have some substructure issues that need to be remedied that are going to cost us about $250,000. And we are a 5011C13 charity. Okay. So we are a beneficial charity that runs the cemetery for our members. So every person who owns a grave in the cemetery is a voting member of our body. And the goal is to bring the chapel back to operation, because unfortunately, about a year and a half ago, we had to close it to the public because of safety issues with the floor that we need to remedy. So we're asking the public to think about the history of Sioux Falls, to think about the history of the cemetery, being that it holds, all the prehistory of Sioux Falls up till 1909. It was the only cemetery here, so a lot of our founding families are buried within our grounds.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here this morning. Very important to preserve history, especially here in Sioux Falls.
Thank you.
Thank you.